I think it's 6 o'clock. Let's start the discussion. People will keep joining. First of all, I would like to welcome everyone to this event, which is the first of its for the Shout for Help as a panel discussion. Otherwise, we have been doing some of the relevant topics on webinars. And today I'm happy to see that we have a elite panelists such as Mahesh Iyer, Ashwin, Deepa Giri, and Mithilesh Shudgar. And of course, we'll be happy to announce that our main advisor, Shivali Krishnan, is going to be the moderator for this panel discussion. And I welcome you all. And I think I leave the stage open for the discussions. I leave it to Shivali to take it forward. Thank you.
I welcome on board everyone here. Just two things about Shout for Help. It was started as a platform to digitally help and reach out to people in times of need. And we have made a small beginning by putting together 500 plus experts. And we are coming out with a digital platform launch very soon, coming month. And we are engaging with the community through surveys and discussions and webinars. And for the first time, we are introducing panel discussions based on surveys conducted between our target audience and our subscribers. And today we found that people were wanting to look forward and plan in these times, which is called the new normal. Nobody's going to call it COVID pandemic times. All those days are over, and now it's called the new normal. And people want to equip themselves with positivity, with information, and how to cope up with different issues like health, career, education, life itself, how to change their mindsets to come up with solutions. So we have an August audience of August gathering of panelists. Deepa Giri, I would like to introduce as a lady in the group first. She is an accomplished entrepreneur, a mompreneur, um, a woman entrepreneur, and a healthpreneur. And she is inspired and motivated many people to get back to health, start their businesses. She campaigns for global warming related causes, clean energy, and the list goes on. And today here she is here to represent the positivity of taking care of health, taking care of your own family through your business, how to start business in ways and means which does not involve too much of investment, rather than all that she's going to discuss. We are going to see that. And we have next with us, I would like to introduce Mithilesh. He's one of the leading mindset coaches in India, and he has taken people, more than hundreds of people, out of depression, help them to empower themselves with positivity, change their mindset to achieve their goals, businesses, reform their habits, uh, all that to motivate themselves. I mean, the list goes on. You can change your mind on anything. And if there is one mind and many stories, he's got that. He is there to help you out with that. And then we have Mahesh Iyer, who is the wise old man, not old but young. Old he looks, but he looks very young with his heart. He's a life coach. He's a Gallup coach. He's a leadership coach, and he's been in the helm of affairs in Accenture and many other organizations. He helps people to understand how they should look at how should they reskill themselves in a job scenario. What are the business owners thinking? How they should think about, rethink the business strategies, and move on towards growth, and have a larger appetite for growth. All these things we will be discussing. And we have Ashwin Desikan, and he's a technopreneur, and he's won a lot of acclamation in Tamil Nadu because he's beautifully managed. He went up to the government with his brilliant idea, and the Chennai Corporation is one of the best managed COVID information cities in India. They were able to control the pandemic by managing logistics, help, and people and testing in a very complex situation very beautifully, and became a example for other mega cities to follow this thing. And he is very humbly taken off his very precious time to be with us and share his journey as an entrepreneur, as a person who's been there in thick of things, with empowered with technology, how to restart and rethink your life in a technological era. That's what he's going to bring to the table. So today's discussion stands open, and it's all about coping the new normal. That's the topic. So I would like to first, the first question everybody asks is, many of us have lost jobs. The first thing, many women who already have stayed home or lost jobs, because most of the times women are the ones who get fired first. Many HR professionals today was discussing told me that. So many women who are responsible for sometimes singly for the running the family want to restart something. So one thing is that they're worried about the health, money, and how to manage their time. So I would like to point this question to Deepagiri. There's specifically on a survey, many women and many people who are managing families, lost jobs, have asked, what is that one or two things you could do without investing too much of your time, or how do you plan in these uncertain times and manage finance, health, and business? Do you have any ideas or thoughts on that?
Um, uh, Thank you, Wali, for that question. And at the outset, first of all, I would like to, share my deepest condolences to all those people who've lost their loved ones in these times. And what I would suggest is, irrespective of what time anybody is in, it is always important for an individual, whether it's a man or a woman, to always have a plan B, and always have another skill set, go for it, and have another source of income. So irrespective of what times anybody is in, I would always suggest that you have multiple sources of income, and you need to plan your skill sets accordingly. They have to be varied. And also asked about what can be done. One is start managing time. Okay. And next, start managing with your health. It has to start from your health, because irrespective of what times we are in, especially in these times, it's important that we are very fit, we are able to go the extra mile and do what it takes. So and another thing that I've always seen is, people think, all the calamities, whatever they go through, everything comes in bundles. One thing leads to another, and people get into these vicious cycles. You don't take care of your health, there is so much. First of all, there is no money then coming in, then they get into all these health issues, and the health issues double up, and then they're not able to concentrate on the work, so the money dwindles down. So people just keep falling through all of these things. So first, I would say, start with your health, eat better. First of all, start exercising, start sleeping right, and then go into the finances bit. See where the money is going. You need to be accountable for every single paisa that is coming in or going out. That is something that is really important. And like I said, always, I mean, it's not too late. We have lots of courses happening online. So see what your varied interests are, and go into those skill sets. Okay. Anybody at, I have people coming to me at, 78 years, who start off, another skill set. If they're able to do at that age, I think age should not be a concern at all, and nor should their education background. So there are a lot of things available. They'll have to start exploring. So because I have been able to train a lot of people, I know, irrespective of the background, irrespective of age, whatever, there is always hope. There is always lots of things people can do.
Thank you.
Anything else you
Basically, I
want me
wanted you to tell
yeah.
them as to how in your own life, like at one point you were skilled for being an engineer, and you were a financial expert, and then you went on to make health and well-being as your business. So when you change that, what is that personal one thing which is very important for somebody to realize before they take that leap of faith from a comfort zone to something which they have not done before? What's that? What was that one thing you did?
Well, it was baby steps in my case, but then as the adage goes, "Dar ke aage jeet hai." You've always seen, right? So you have to get into the waters. You will have to start exploring it. You cannot shy away from anything. I was trained for something else, like you said, and when I think it's also the passion, Valli, that counts, because if you really love what you're doing, if you're fixated on that, if you know what you're doing and why you're doing that, irrespective of which path you choose, you'll put your heart and soul into it. That's what I did. Being trained as an engineer to getting into health, I started developing skills. I started reading much. I started catching up on a lot of stuff, and it I don't know. For me,
That means, I
it
mean,
was easy.
I think for you it was the passion, the drive
Yeah,
to
that's what I
do
said. As
something.
long as you're passionate, if you want to do something really badly, I think you will do it any which ways.
So
So
you should rekindle passions. That's what you say. That's one thing. So let's.
exactly.
Okay.
And even if there are any roadblocks, there will always be some roadblocks. But if you're passionate about it, you're always going to see something further. You're going to see above, over and above all of those things. So you're just looking at your goals. You're looking at where you want to go. So it is very easy for somebody to jump on all of these things and keep moving forward.
Okay. Next is mindset. When I would like to draw that parlance when Deepa said that she took that leap of faith, and she said that that was she tried to be more passionate and more focused on what she wants to do. And how does that happen, Mr. Mithilesh? How does one build on somebody, get over somebody's fear and build a mindset to go on, do a new thing? What's the things?
Yeah. Mm, So it's a nice question and the right time for it. See, what I see all around, I mean, what we all see all around is people, with a lot of fear, a lot of uncertainty. People have lost their jobs. There are people who have lost their businesses. Like I come across entrepreneurs like whose businesses are absolute. Like they don't have anything to do, and they are looking out for a new line of business. And there are people who have lost their jobs and they are searching for jobs. So here what happens is, as Deepa Giri talked of two things. One was passion. So identify what is your passion. The other things he talked of health. So work on the mental side of health. That's crucial. If you work on the mental side of health and ensure that you are in the right frame of mind, right state of mind, that is where wonders actually start happening. And I always tell people things happen. We don't do things. Things happen when we are in the right state of mind. Good things happen. Our actions are better. They just improve when we are in the right state of mind. So how do we get into the right state of mind? That's the question, Shrivali.
Yeah, I
There
mean,
are a
that's
few.
what we want to know. I mean,
Yeah.
the
So there
question
are
is, how do you get there? At least make a beginning.
so there are a few tips I'll be sharing with you. What happens here is like everyone is focused on the uncertainty. Everyone is focused on the fear. Rather shift the focus on good aspects. There are some very good aspects. There are some good learnings that we have had in the pandemic, in the lockdown. So focus on the good learnings. There are some wonderful successes, achievements that you have had in your life. Focus on those. Make a journal. Take a file. Put in all those photographs of your success, of your achievements, of your school, college certificates. Make a file, one big file of all these things, and just go through that file daily. That will ensure that you get into that achievement mode of mindset, because you have already done it. Brain only works on references. What are the references your brain is working today, now? That's a big question. If you are operating on the references in the brains about fear and uncertainty and the lost job and the lost business, that's what you are going to create in the future. Ensure that your brain start operating from the references of all the successes that you have had in the life. It's a very simple tool I'm sharing with you. Just make a success. It's called a success journal. Just make that journal. It's a big hefty file with all those photographs of all the success and achievements that you have in your life, with all your school certificates and college certificates and anything that you've achieved in sports in the school life, whatever, and just go through that file daily, maybe twice a day, maybe thrice a day. Try doing it. It works wonders, I tell you.
Okay, and I have another question which is specifically for you.
Yeah.
People say that, one is that you should not compare your life with other people's lives. Today, everybody has the same thread connecting us in terms of COVID, and some have losses of people's lives. And the point there is that when somebody is comparing their life with others, when they're always comparing their life with their past life, what they're comparing it, what it can be in the future. So there is a comparison. There's an attribute of trying to be in the same comfort zone again and again. So this mind sometimes inspires us, but in spite of that, there is some other second thoughts which come to us: practicality, past experience. All these helps us to stop us from going forward. How does somebody deal with the fight they have to fight within themselves on comparisons, either with someone or themselves, of the past, of the future? How do they reconcile this comparison?
Fine. So, what happens is comparison, like today's world is all about comparison. If someone got a BMW, then I should get a BMW. It's all about comparison. And that's how we live. But the fact is, compare, don't, I mean, it's about competition. Like we change the word from comparison to competition.
Yeah.
So the best thing that can happen is compete with yourself, not with someone else.
So you're saying competition is good?
Competition is good, but compete with yourself.
Okay.
Try to be a better version every single day. I mean, this is what I could do yesterday. Now, what can I do today? Like, it should be better than what I did last month. It should be better than what I was doing last year. So, compete with yourself. The game is you versus you. That's the only one game which can be played in the world. If a person plays this game correctly, you versus you, anything is possible. I mean, it's you versus you. What did you do yesterday? Are you doing better than that today? If yes, what were you doing yourself? Are you doing better than what you were doing last month, a year back, maybe just yesterday? So that focus has to shift from comparing with others to competing with yourself. And when you start competing with yourself, that is where you start playing a different ball game entirely. That is where you start improving. As Deepa said wonderfully, she said about learning the new skill sets. You can learn new skill sets when you start competing with yourself. You can improve on the existing skill sets when you start competing with yourself. Till the time you don't compete with yourself, the game is you versus you. I mean, whatever you do, you are in a job, you are in business, you are a professional, you are a sports person, there is only one game to be played. It's you versus you. How good you are at playing this game, that determines everything. So that the focus has to shift. You get the point?
Yeah.
Shivali?
Yeah.
From comparing with others,
Yeah,
to
one
competing
more
with yourself.
question to this thing is that someone has asked about this self-love and self-hate.
Yeah.
When you are actually assessing yourself as good, improving, comparison, whatever,
Yeah.
there's a amount of self-hate, self-blame. Sometimes now are not the times when you praise yourself.
Yeah.
And self-love, some people see it as a taboo in our society. So how does this time help us to motivate ourselves? Should we overcome this taboo and love ourselves, because so many people have issue loving themselves?
See, the challenge, excuse me, the challenge the most people face, like I've helped more than 500 people overcome depression, and the prime reason for depression I've seen in all these people is they don't love themselves. They start hating themselves for whatever reason. And the challenge is how to love yourself. The concept is very simple. I'll give a very simple tip. Just do it for 10-15 days and you see the difference.
What's that?
It's a simple way of doing it. Just go to the mirror, have an eye contact with yourself. and eye contact with yourself. And people who hate themselves, they won't be able to maintain this contact for even a few seconds. I tell you, it's a fact. Because they don't like themselves, rather they hate themselves. They won't be able to maintain that eye contact with themselves when they watch themselves, see themselves in the mirror. So just shift it, like have an eye contact, see yourself in the mirror and tell yourself deeply with absolute intense feelings, I love you. Just have an eye contact with yourself in the mirror and say it intensely. Do it for a few times and you will actually experience that love throughout your body. Just try doing it once and you will realize how powerful this is. It's easy. There are very simple tools to use daily. You can do it 10 times, 15 times, 30 times in a day. It just takes a couple of minutes. I have had people coming out of depression using just this one single technique, and it works wonders. Yes, it needs consistent practice, but it's just unbelievably powerful.
Okay, that's a great conversation on mindset. Then our next question from there goes to Mahesh Iyer, because we've covered health, we've covered mind, we have covered the heart. Now it comes about money, and somebody is so used to the old times in terms of planning, in terms of skilling and finances, and the whole time life looks like a burden. So Mahesh, what is your goal? You're a trained finance professional, you've been helm of things, you manage people's careers, you manage people's skilling, sometimes you're a life coach, you manage people's lives in a path of life. So what is your two bit of advice for people who are in two minds? Sometimes they want to be happy with their salaries, sometimes they want to start their own business. In these times they don't want to risk so many things, but they have to do something about income, manage their they want to plan their future. Where is that one balance or one thing which they can start their journey with? Where should they assess? How do they assess themselves for starters? Do they need a game change in their lives? How does somebody start the journey?
Thank you, Shrivalli. I think that's a question which is utmost on everybody's mind, and we all wish we had a great answer to that question. But the main important thing is that we should not panic. Assume that COVID or no COVID, it does not matter. People have got some unrealistic expectations of how much money they need to be happy. So this happiness quotient, is it linked to money or is it linked to your own emotional state of being? So there are two situations. Either you have a job today or you don't have a job related to your finances. Now, if you have a job and your wife loses a job or somebody else in the house loses a job, that means there is some drop in your income. Now, Deepagiri said that you can jump to something else, try something else, do something else, but that might take 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, depending on your learning agility to switch to your new skills, right? But prior to that, instead of panicking, you just sit down with your family and find out what is that we currently have. People have two things. One is you have an income, which you get every month, or depending on if you're a partner, you're doing a business, you get in some periodicity. The second thing is that over the years, you also build up some assets. Correct? For example, you may have 2 houses, you may have 3 houses, you may have an asset which is not even utilized, lying somewhere. For example, your father may have bought a plot of land somewhere and it's just lying somewhere and nobody is doing anything. And because you were so busy, you don't even bother to find out what has happened to the land. So if you just sit down and make a list of all your assets, make a list of all your life insurance policies, all your savings, all your shares, all your gold. So as of today, if you draw, as you say as an accountant, your simple balance sheet, what does it look? Is it actually so bad? In the last 6 months, my expenses especially has dropped down 75%. When you have money, you tend to spend more money. When you don't have money, you try to rationalize. So what is the reality? People were spending few lakhs on holidays. What happens if today, due to COVID, you can't go for a holiday? So you've already saved 5 lakhs. So you can say money saved is also money earned. Anyway, so what my simple suggestion is, for the next 6 months to 1 year, draw simple receipts and expenses. Okay? In that, some of the EMIs you have, some of the payments you have are mandatory. You also have some income stream which is pakka. With these two, see where is the problem, what is the assets you have which are being unutilized, what is the some amount of adjustments you can make. For example, if I have a fixed deposit account and today I don't have a job and I'm getting some 6% for that, should I not pay my credit card bills at 24% per annum interest rate? So can I break my fixed deposit, clear up all my costly debt I have, and reduce my outflow of money, use that money to do, as Deepa says, or Mithilesh says, new learning, build some hope in yourself, cross-skill yourself, and see the gap which is happening over the next 6 months, how you can match that gap. Now, it is very easy to say, you try and upskill yourself, you cross-skill yourself. But everything available on the net for free is obviously has its limitations. So look at your own skills, look at your strengths, and as Mithilesh said, look at what your success in the past, what are your strengths in the past, and see whether the new skills you have can match your own self. And that matching of yourself requires a need in the market. Only when there's a need in the market, people will pay you and take you for your old skill or new skill. So do some research, see the types of jobs which are being still advertised, who's still recruiting, and see whether you can pivot yourself a little to get those new jobs or those new skills.
And one more question, Mahesh, for you is that some people are so trapped and confused and so perplexed in these times that they go into a question which is typically which is about whether they should continue living. That kind of choices they make. But however, we know that these choices are wrong. But at least for a moment, I know of so many people in so many conversations that I've had over the last 6-7 months have said, I don't want to continue this anymore. I don't want to be this person. It's not about job. It's not about money. There is something which is undescribed in these times that is affecting people. What is one way to confront those feelings, according to you?
I think one way is to see that, is your life as bad as you imagine? When they say that you're very emotional, you can't be intellectual.
Yeah.
When you're too intellectual, you're not emotional. So can you have a balance? I think the best thing, as Mithilesh also said, is to talk to somebody. In addition to looking in the mirror, talk to somebody and see, compared to 100 people. For example, somebody the other day said that there are thousands of jobs, I applied, but only 10 people got selected. So should they get into depression? If 10 people have got selected out of 1,000, that means 990 people are outside there who have not got it. You're only one among the 990, but you're trying to compare yourself to the 10 without having all the skills required for that job. It is better to spend your time to see that you are better off than a lot of other people. It is only that little push, that little self-confidence, which is going to come your way to get the next job. So my advice is, please look at small mercies you have in your life. You may have a house, you may have parents, you may have a wife, you have kids. There are so many good things you have. Job will come and go. But you have survived last 30 years, 40 years on your own. So to Mithilesh's point, look at the success stories, look at what you have done well, be patient, do your small balance sheet, do your cash flow for the next few months, and tide over this next few months. Everything is going to bounce back. It's a matter of just holding on for a few months.
Okay. When you say holding on and staying afloat, think of more small mercies. Next question is about today's mercy is technology. We all are surviving on technology. And the next question goes to Ashwin, because he's a technopreneur. He is hung at home before COVID started and still made a business out of it. And now when COVID is happening, he's out there and helping people and made a business out of it. So my question to you, Ashwin, is that how much important, even there are so many people now panicking and trying to reskill themselves with some technology. Some say cyber security, some says artificial intelligence, that this. There's so many buzzwords, and somebody wants to even some people want to even get into white hat to get to coding. They're thinking that without technology they are going to stay they stay aback. There's so much panic, and there is so what is your thought on this? How does one cope with this great demand for technology skills and technology usage, adaptation, all that with these times?
Hi, thank you, Valli, for the and shout for help for the opportunity. Right, so great question with regards to technology and people wanting to kind of reskill more during pandemic and thinking that technology is going to carry them forward. Certainly, right. Let's look at it probably from two parts, right? How effective was technology before pandemic, and how technology is being used during pandemic and post pandemic, right? Now, the technology has always been growing. If you take the last decade or 2 decades, right, compared to where the country was, where the globally, if you look at how people have been using technology, how it has impacted all of us, right? Starting from what you're seeing in television, now going to Zoom and YouTube and Facebook, etc. Right? That's all technology which has come and changed how people are interacting. We used to all meet in coffee shops. Now today we meet over Zoom, or sometimes people are talking over Skype, etc. Right? So that their technology came and changed how people communicated. Now the next wave was before that, and you would probably have noticed in the larger corporations, etc. Technology came to improve process. Now technology in between the recent years came to improve how we do our daily transactions, banking, doing business online, things like that, right? When pandemic came in, the few areas where technology started pushing or helping people is education, learning, how people can go and look at new avenues to reskill themselves. I know Deepa spoke about it as to skills being available which can be learned online. There are so many courses online which people can go and take, right? So technology will continue to grow, and there are new avenues and buzzwords which you will keep learning every day, and that's the job of the technologists and people in the research and education space to keep creating new stuff, right? And we expect the today the millennials, the future to come and adapt that new, because that is how the whole business cycle is going to keep running. But if anyone wants to learn, adopt technology, go forward, all I say to them is look at the basics, right? If you want to learn technology, let's say you mentioned cyber security, coding, digital, right? What is the basics? What do you want to solve? What do you want to learn, right? Look at the area which interests you, right? Start looking at those areas and try and see what is the basic you need to know in order for you to understand that. Let's say, for example, analytics and looking at a lot of these AI and digital, right? The core is basically nothing but mathematics. If you understand the basics of math, how to apply math back to the whole analysis, right? You actually become very good with intelligence. So you have to start looking at what are the topics which you need to learn in order to adopt yourself to for the upcoming and newer technologies which are coming into play.
Okay, one more question on technology and adaptation is that today technology laptops have become more costlier. I was seeing on Amazon, I was trying to buy a laptop, it's gone up. Even a phone, I thought will get cheaper. Usually by Diwali season, it's cheaper. It's becoming more expensive. So what I was trying to figure out with some friends about this topic was Today, there are so many courses on Coursera. There are students trying to upgrade themselves on career. Some people who are trying to reskill themselves to cope up with future, because they realize that yesterday IT was saying it was all about offshoring, cost saving. Today it's become a convenience and it's become a necessity. So when somebody is weighing, their educational skill sets, they have a functional area where they are expert in some topic, and they want to enhance their future skill set in something. What is the one most important thing they have to remember before spending their a couple of thousands or lakhs of rupees or even their precious time on learning? How should they define their technology learning skills? What should they evaluate before that they have, and what should they prepare themselves for, study future? How should they equip
Very
themselves?
simple. You spoke about like hardware or like phones becoming costlier and things like that. Now there is an economic side of it, the impact of the pandemic and certain business decision, government decisions, which is all pushed up the prices a little bit. Right, the demand is more, supply is catching up with it to some extent. Plus there is politics behind it. We won't want to go about it. But from an individual standpoint, what are you looking at? You need to basically look at what do you need that technology for, right? Be it a smartphone, be it a laptop, desktop, or you want to buy a new laptop. What is the purpose for which you want to buy it? Let's say if your intention is entertainment and you want to just watch a movie or so, a small tablet or a phone may be good enough, right? But if your purpose is basically you want to learn some programming, you just want to look at what kind of programs you're going to build, right? What is the minimum requirements? There are enough avenues available, forums available, which tells you what kind of infrastructure you need in order for you to make that learning, right? Even in the slowest of computer, you can still learn a program. It's just going to take that extra time to compile and run for you. You just need to have the patience to be able to use that tech, right? It is always great to be able to upgrade to a newer system if you can afford it. If not, use what is available. Look at what is the best minimal spend you can do in order for you to move to that and use that tool to be able to learn. Then subsequently, when you have equipped yourself well, go and get the next technology which is available.
Okay. There's one more question for Deepa. Deepa, when today people are seeing yoga online, they're seeing health, wellness online, they're seeing everything online. There's so many vitamins, there are so many things. They're talking about immunity, they're talking about they're talking about so many supplements you should have. Now health looks costlier and more troublesome to get up to. What's your thoughts on that? Because this is so much pressure. If you see in any media, everybody is talking about in the new normal, health becoming a very fashionable. Anyway, it was fashionable, more expensive, and it looks like you are out of fear, you want to engage with it. What is your advice to those people? How do they approach either it's Zumba, whatever, health, exercise, or any kind of herbal issues they have? I mean, herbal things they want to do, or they want to do go vitamin spree. What is that two things that one or two things which they have to keep in mind before they choose their diet, their exercise, their the lifestyle they are living? What are the key things they should keep sanity in mind before they start off on this journey?
Thank you for that question, Vali, but I would like to say something very different from what your views were.
Okay.
Because I've tried sickness, and trust me, it is way more expensive.
Yeah,
So,
I know that.
yeah, health, always prevention is always better and cheaper than cure. I'm for it because I've been through the whole thing.
You've been in a health, I mean, a very bad health. Yeah, at some point.
Yes, I have been very bad with my health, and I don't know why that happened. I tried figuring it out in my own ways, but that wasn't I mean, it was very difficult initially. But then once you get the hang of it, it's very, very easy. Trust me, it's much better. At this point, let me give you something called as the pillars of health. These are the 5 things, maybe plus 2 I would like to add. The 5 things that you need to take care of if you're looking at your health. The first topmost thing I would say is nutrition. Eat better, and eating better is always in style. And 80% of your health is taken care of when you're not eating the food that your body does not need. So think about that. Second is drinking enough water. For your body to fight better with all the things, it's not just the one virus that is causing havoc. There is thousands of other things which is out there. I mean, don't just concentrate on one thing. Next, have enough water so your body is hydrated enough. You will start thinking better if you're just drinking enough water. This I've seen. So by enough water, I mean, there is always a question whether you'll have to drink this much of water, that much of water. As a rule of thumb, what I would suggest my people who follow with me is for every 20 kilos of body weight, drink somewhere around a liter of water. So according to your body weight. The third thing I would want everybody to do is sleep. Concentrate on your sleep. Get a good night's sleep. Not sleep any which time of the day, but sleep about between 6 and 8 hours. You would know how many hours you want to sleep, so sleep better. So that way your immunity goes stronger if you're sleeping better. See, all of these things, at least drinking water and sleeping better, you're not spending money. Correct? Try and do this. The fourth thing that you need to do is leading a healthy active lifestyle. Irrespective of whether you want to do a yoga or a Zumba or a Bollywood workout or a mix of all of these things, 20-25 minutes of a good workout in a day is more than enough. And this much of time, I'm sure everybody can take out for themselves.
Okay.
So take time out for yourself, do that exercise. You're going to improve your immunity. And for this also, there is not much that you need to pay. There are so many people who are uploading videos day in and day out. Once you have a look at those videos, you would know if they know their stuff. If the person who's showing these videos knows what they're talking about, please follow. Otherwise, a good walk, jump rope, lots of exercises that can be done from home. You don't even have to go out of the house or pay for any of these things. Fifth one is a positive mindset. Okay. I'm sure Mithilesh will agree with me. 95% of whatever, you need to focus on the solution and only 5% on the problem. This is my fundo all the ways. So these are the 5 things: nutrition, water, sleep, healthy lifestyle, active lifestyle, and a positive mindset. If you have these 5, you're good to go. Along with that, I would like to add just 2 supporting pillars for a healthy lifestyle, which is avoiding infections and injuries, which is a no-brainer. Try and do your best, avoid the infections and injuries. Okay. And this also doesn't cost you money, Valli. Okay, now coming to the point of you talking about some herbal supplements or teas or so many other things out there. I actually believe in supplementing because I've tried the other ways. Unfortunately for us in India, especially because we are looking at India right now, our growing, storing, and cooking methods are not on par. They are not the same as they used to be earlier. I'm sure everybody agrees with that. And supplementing has, given me a very big advantage, big leap, because once I started eating better, like I said, it's been 16 years now. So over the last 1.5 decades, we have seen with everybody who's jumping in on this and eating better and following these pillars that I was talking about, they've been able to enjoy really good health. So, they need to choose. It's not like, I won't know. There are a lot of things out there which are much cheaper. I mean, if you're just looking at the numbers, or somebody here somebody saying that, this is very expensive or something is not expensive. that becomes very relative. Just go out there and find out for yourself. You know the pros and cons. You can evaluate and probably take a conscious choice on that. But
Okay.
the rest, at least, I'm sure people can follow, Ali.
Yeah, sure. Next question is on mental health. Someone has asked, being a mother and a housewife, she wants to know how is she going to maintain the mental health of, influence or maintain or motivate people on and be conscious to the needs of the mental health of people in the household. How does a woman who is doing all these things look after the mental health of everybody? I mean, her own health is also important. So what are that 4 5 things somebody has to look at or look for in other people to figure out the mental health status of someone?
Okay, there are two things
I
to
would
it.
like that to I would like that to be answered by Mithilesh, if you don't mind, Deepa. I'll
Okay,
come
okay,
back.
sorry.
Sure, sure.
Fine. Well, thank you, Shivali.
Yeah.
See, for the housewife,
Huh.
I mean, my way of looking at housewives is very different. The other day when we were talking, probably I might have mentioned this.
Yes.
We don't look at housewives as performers.
Yes, we don't acknowledge them.
Yeah, it's not about just acknowledging. Acknowledging is a simple thing, and looking at them as performers. So, I was talking of, like, we don't look at housewives as performers. They
Okay.
perform day in day night. They perform. I mean, they perform more than. I mean, my wife performs more than what I perform in terms of my business. I mean, she does everything. Like, I mean, she is busier than I am. I mean, she is a high performer. Like, she performs more number of hours, than the number of hours that I actually perform doing business and coaching people. So the first thing is, we need to, like, change this perspective and start looking at them as performers. Even the housewives, they don't look themselves as performers.
But what is that
I'm
one
coming.
common thing which will mind
I'm
to that,
coming.
which will bring?
I'm coming.
Yeah.
See, this is again a very important shift I'm talking of. If the housewife starts looking at herself as performers, the focus shifts. That is very important. The another aspect that I would like to share here is, the housewife should be able to see positive in everything. I mean, there are two sides of a coin, and her role is to help people see that positive side of every coin. Performance. If the housewife is able to do that, show that positive aspect of the coin to everyone around her in the house, like, everyone starts getting into that positive aspect of, seeing positive things. That's probably the most important aspect. If a housewife is able to do this, like, I know it's challenging to begin with, but with practice this is very easily doable, because I have seen people do this. I've seen many people do this, like, I've been working with people for more than 10 years now. So it begins with, start seeing there is a positive in every situation. Mahesh just talked about, like, I mean, COVID, like, but there are positives in COVID. So, I mean, there are positives about things. Why don't we start looking at, why don't we have our focus on those positive aspects? Anything that has happened in the house or any situation, there is definitely something positive which we can focus, which we can zoom into. So,
Mahesh wants to add on to
yes,
what you are
Mahesh,
saying, Mitesh.
I think
please, Mahesh.
thanks, Mikhail. That is wonderful. But I think, we should not push all the responsibility on the housewives alone.
Yeah, very true.
No,
Very true.
I just wanted, because this was a specific question.
Yeah, I'm
Basically,
coming to that. So what I'm saying is,
yeah,
for a
sure.
family health, now that everybody is at home, please have a small 15 minutes break where everybody is sitting on a dining table or having without any devices. Talk about, as Mithilesh said, some of the positives that happened today or yesterday, and also talk some of the challenges. Let the family as a group start talking about helping each other. If your closed ones can't help you, who else will help you? Because they understand your situation better than anybody else. So family communication without devices, at least 15 minutes, 2 times a day, is going to solve most of your problem. Nobody's got time for the other person. Wife is on video, child is on video, father is on video, mother-in-law on video, husband on video, in different rooms. If they have so many rooms, otherwise they don't even talk. Talking, communication is the most important for mental.
And what does Ashwin have to say on this technology outcry when he says ban technology for mental health? What do you say?
Well, get everyone in a Zoom call and get the family to speak if they don't want to come and sit at one place.
No, one more thing I wanted to check out with Deepa being, I mean, this question can be answered by you also, because you're a mother, you're an entrepreneur, you're always on Zoom calls and phone calls and things like that. So what is that one thing you look for in people in your household to see whether their mental health, like healthy health, you can check by fever and, cough and things like that. What is that one symptom you look for to figure out if somebody needs help? Without them coming forward?
It's not just in my house. That's the reason, thanks to Zoom, I'm able to have a look at, the people whom I'm conversing with. The one thing that I would say for somebody's mental health is just looking at them. If you're talking to somebody, they're looking back at you, and they're if they're listening to you, or just hearing something and not concentrating, or they're like looking around and they're looking lost, or things like that. That itself is more than enough for you to understand whether they are focused enough, whether they're in their right mindset. So that is just one small thing that you can look at.
One last question for Ashwin is that everybody, before I open this thing for a 5-minute to 10-minute discussion from the group, if they want to ask some questions. Ashwin, everybody, you're working with the government. This question was supposed to come. We all know we can, we have to depend on government for many of the services and infrastructure and, just the confidence building in the community. So in these pandemic times, what is the effort you have seen actually? I mean, we can't ask, we don't have anybody from the government, but we have you. What do you think was the response of this government which came forward? What do you think, how much responsible we were as a community and as government, how have we performed?
Okay, I will break it down into two parts. Okay, I will talk in general in terms of what government of India is doing, overall what is happening, at least based on my knowledge of what is happening, and I will also specifically talk about what the city of Chennai did, because we are working very closely with the city of Chennai. Right now, overall, if you look from a government standpoint, government was extremely serious about how they wanted to tackle this pandemic. Right, it was an absolute unknown. Even today, it is an absolute unknown for a lot of doctors, because it does impact in certain odd ways. Right, it all comes down to, as many of us spoke about, Deepa very eloquently talked about the health and mental side of it. If you're not actually healthy, you're going to have any form of comorbid and other kind of situations. It does impact people. Right. So what government managed to do, be it the center, be it the states doing it independently, and corporations trying to kind of leverage out of what government provided, was trying to see how to use technology to a very large extent. Right. And they rallied upon people, healthcare workers, the doctors, right, sanitary workers, like people from all walks of life, like NGOs, right? They were able to rally all of them together for one cause, and one cause alone, is to make sure we can help every citizen as much as possible, right? To one, tell them and provide them some form of a facility if they happen to get this virus. Okay, that's something the government has tried to do, right? But there are limitations from, let's say, the center or the state standpoint in terms of having access to information. How quickly can you get that information? How effectively can you leverage that information to be able to provide that help to the person next door who is probably may have got this virus? Right? And this is where I will specifically talk about Chennai as a model, and why Chennai is being praised today, right? And we made a small contribution. The reason I say it's a small contribution because this would completely not have been possible, and I have to acknowledge at this point in time the commissioner, the joint commissioner, all the health officials down to the sanitary worker, right? Chennai was, I would say, almost like close to 5,000 people on the ground working, right, to make effective the plans which were put into place, right? Take a small bit of it, but the tech just helped them to leverage data, move things faster. What used to take 48 hours in a piece of paper, right? Just identifying where a person is and trying to communicate to the zone or a ward or a division where that person belonged to, or the street where they belong to, and the sanitary worker close by, we brought it down from 24 hours to less than 1 or 2 hours, right? We were able to provide data instantaneously. So that helped in making data being available for all of them to process things faster, right? See, and the bigger challenge also is, I would say, you specifically asked about what communities can do. Community, as a community, we need to also take this seriously. Yes, to a very large extent, for many people, it appears like it's just a normal cold or a flu. It comes and goes, right? Because close to about 85-90% of the people have recovered, right? It appears that way, and it is very true, and it is natural for us to think that, hey, eventually I will recover, so why should I worry about it, right? But that single person getting that virus, right? And if you're not using the minimum basic precaution, which is basically using a mask, right, or hand sanitizing or washing your hand once in a few hours, right, leads to you being a very silent spreader, and you may impact or infect a person who may be carrying a comorbid situation. Today, the other thing which happened with digital to a large extent in many parts of India is the knowledge of government to actually know how many of them actually have these other ailments. That's a very important data point, because they can do more directed and better health programs going forward, right? Because of that data which has become available. Previously, you never knew who was a diabetic, who was having these kind of problems, unless and until it actually came out, right? Now everyone is treating these as important issues, and there is a lot of lot of planning happening, people taking it seriously and trying to see how we could make use of both tech and other programs available to communicate to people that, hey, you don't need to worry about it. It's just that we are there to provide you that level of support. And that's where government has changed with adopting technology to make this happen.
I think we should give a hand to all the government people and all the healthcare workers who are there. So I'm sure Ashwin also stands in battling the COVID from the front end. And I think one thing I would like to ask everybody before we open for 5 minutes for conversation with the audience is that how much important is it to seek how important is it to ask for advice from other people in these times? How important is it important to shout for help from other people? Ashwin, what do you have to say?
Asking for help, irrespective of times, is important, right? I know Mahesh spoke about speaking to the family, right? I know that not everyone is open to the idea of speaking within the family because of so many different reasons. If that is the case, find a friend, find that person who can help you, who can basically have an open conversation with you without judging you. That is very important, because then you're able to get out what is going on in your head, right? That helps on the mental side. So simple example I can quote from my own experiences. Whenever I'm feeling a little down, being an entrepreneur, you go through ups and downs, right? And I have access to a beach, I just go walk in the beach, because it just helps you to clear out what is there in the head and come up with a clear vision of how to move it forward, right? And you can have a discussion with someone post that.
Deepa, what is your thought on shouting out for help in case you're not there?
In case I'm not.
I mean, you're not happy with what you have. You have an issue. What do you think? Should you go out and seek help? How important is it
No,
in
it's
these times?
it's always I definitely agree with what Ashwin said. It's always irrespective of what the times are. It's always nice to have to if you have somebody to talk to you, if you have a mentor. Are you able to hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Have somebody that you can talk to is, I mean, it can never beat that suggestion what Ashwin always said. Be comfortable, be open and I mean, see, there is always some pros and cons to any situation, right? If you can understand it from somebody else's perspective, maybe they will show you the light, they'll shine some light on you and they'll show you how good you are at what you're doing. And you need a pat on the back sometimes. So you need somebody to tell that as well.
So, Mithilesh, what is that? What is that you think you should be? What's that mindset you should have to seek out help? What is that one thing you should always appreciate? I mean, you should look for in yourself.
See, it's not about looking in self, it's about understanding the basic. I use this one liner every time, and people who understand this one line, they will never shy away from taking help. See, you either solve the problems by trial and error, or you solve the problem by taking help. It can be friendly help, it can be professional help. So two options, trial and error, help. What's better? And the answer is always help.
Sure. And Mahesh, what is that you have been helping people with life? I mean, where is that one thing what you find where people find it difficult to connect with someone else? What is that one thing they have to do to overcome that?
I think for the last 6 months, one of the benefits of COVID, for me at least, is that when people call a friend, as we are recommending, the friend is always on Zoom. The only person who's not on Zoom is people like me. So I've been getting a lot of calls over the last few months actually asking for help. So in KBC, Kaun Banega Crorepati, there is one option, na, call a friend.
Yeah.
So that should be a norm for everybody, because it is free and he trusts you. And Ashwin said that if he's not going to make a judgment on you, please do it. Please call. So all the people on this call, anybody who wants help, and Shout of Help is a fantastic experience where people can actually call for help, and I'm sure you have adequate protection so that the identity of people are protected.
Yes, anonymous. We have an anonymous digital platform coming up for launch next month for all those people. So it's somebody with expertise who's the professional. It's though not a professional intervention. There is a counseling which is going to happen in the fields of livelihoods. It could be education, it could be health, it could be finances, and these are the defined spaces, or legal. So we have experts who are empaneled with us, more than 500 of them across India. So we have gone ahead and bought the experts on the platform, and we are now done campaigns to get subscribers to do test surveys with people who want to seek help, and we have a lot of intelligence which we have gathered. And thanks. And now I would like to open this forum to questions. Ram Mohan, you had a question. You can ask it now. Is there?
Yeah, he's there.
Yeah, hi. Hi, Valli, and all the panelists have been giving some fantastic advice for the participants. Very delighted to see all of you all. I have been an entrepreneur and so to say social entrepreneur for almost 12 years now. I'm doing all whatever I could to preach, practice, and do whatever I can in this area, mostly to do with agriculture and rural development. That's what I've been doing. Now, as an entrepreneur, what I see, what I found around this ecosystem about is in agriculture is, I mean, that's palpable. I mean, I noticed it vividly, and I saw people struggling also to, sail through certain, problems. In a sense,
So what's the
Like,
question, Mohan?
I'll tell you. I'm just giving you a background about it, the
Sure.
context. So now I understood we have IT, what do you call, thriving in this entrepreneurship era. Tech startups, fintech startups, which are whoever is linked with technology, that thriving and growing and doing whatever, doing phenomenally good, some of them. So now my observation has been agri-tech startups, they've been struggling to do something in this area. So is there anything which probably tech expert, I think Ashwin would answer this probably.
Ram,
Yeah.
sure, Ram. Thank you for
Yeah.
that question. Now, a couple of things I want to bring out here, right? There are good technology companies, there are bad technology companies, right? There are people who are doing very well, there are people who are doing really bad even in these situations. That is kind of universal, and that is because of the global economics in play here, right? That is one I wanted to register. Now, from an agri tech standpoint, right now there is a lot of new things which are also come into India, and there are organizations who are already doing that in that space, where this whole digital and IoT or Internet of Things coming into play. Right now people on the agri space want to really look at measurement of data from their fields and their crop and the productivity levels, right? Bring all those tech into play, because that helps you to get a better produce, measure your produce better, what is that you're doing. So that's actually a very hot field, right? And that there is a lot of work which is going on. It's been something which has been happening for quite some time, but that is getting a lot of acceleration during these times, right? And the next coming 6 months to a year's time, you will see a lot more happening in that space. Simple reason being, overall digital has got a tremendous push because of COVID, right? Organizations have realized that digital is one way to have a better control of how their processes work, and people are willing to adapt to this change. Though it was a forced change, they have realized that it is good to adapt to this change and be prepared, rather than not be prepared to this change and wait for things to happen for them and go back to the old days of doing paper, right? So that is the big positive which I am seeing, and agripreneurs and people in the agriculture and related businesses and areas, right, would see a lot more adoption of digital and Internet of Things and those areas coming into play, right? And with a lot more cold chains and infrastructure being developed, you will see a boom in that space.
I got this. Thanks, Ashwin. Thanks for the response.
Is there any more questions? Anyone there? Satish?
Ma'am, can I ask a question?
Sure, Mithila.
Just it's for the Mahesh sir. If
Okay.
it is, sir told to spending or not spending, it's earning like money, right? I mean, if you're not spending any amount of money on holidays, it is other way around. You're earning. Correct, sir?
Yes, very correct.
Yeah. And I just want a question about that. Does using a credit card nowadays, I mean, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Huh.
We can hear you.
Yeah. Taking a credit card or using a credit card, does it work now? Because nowadays we have to be more on a calculative basis. I'm a housewife, so can I take a credit card now?
Oh, definitely you can take a credit card. But the only downside of a credit card is that if you don't pay, then it is very expensive.
Yeah.
So if you're sure of your cash flow of money coming in to pay the credit card, it is a very convenient form of paying. So, but it is also tempting. Because you have a credit card, these guys keep calling you and say your limit is 1 lakh, we'll make it 2 lakh, we'll make it 3 lakh. And then you think that, you can spend the money and pay it later. That pay it later is the risk part of a credit card. So don't if you have a credit card, you'll be tempted. So my immediate advice is don't take a credit card. Whatever cash you have, please manage with that. Maybe after COVID is over, you have a steady income. That time you take credit card and make your life more convenient in terms of payment and take some benefits of credit card points, etc., etc.
No, that is what I was asking. That is the thing is that I have some money which I've kept for a holiday. So spending instead of spending, I thought I'll take a credit card.
No. It doesn't matter. Please spend your money because anyway, saving bank interest is so low, and there is no risk of default because you, by mistake you don't pay the credit card, they're going to charge you about 3% a month. Whereas you only get less than 0.5% a month for your savings. So please spend your savings.
Yeah. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Shivali, don't mute yourself now.
No, I think we have come to the end of today's discussion, and it was an awesome discussion. Thanks to all of you and a great panel. And this is going to be hosted in our YouTube channel and also on our Facebook. It has gone live. And thanks for being there and supporting. And people who want to reach out to Deepa Giri, she is available on Deepa Giri in Facebook. And if somebody goes to my name, all of them who are on this panel are there on Facebook and LinkedIn. And if you can get their names right, you will see their photograph and identify them. They are approachable and you can ask future questions. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, and I think Ram Mohan, please contact us. We may have some suggestions for you.
Yeah, Ram Mohan is a good friend of me and Abhiram, and I will connect you to Mahesh Iyer and Ashwin.
Yeah, please, we can try and see.
Thanks so much for that, Mahesh.
Yeah, thank you so
Okay,
much.
thank you
so much. Thank you, bye.
Thank you so much for this opportunity, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you, Sudha, Abhiram.
Thank you so
Shivali,
much. Thank
everybody,
you.
for all the organizers. Wonderful. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so
Bye-bye.
much.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Good night.
Good night.